This object has no texture, and this one does. The shape is the same, the lighting is same, so why does one look real and other look fake? The difference is called texture. In 3D, texture is what makes any object looks real. It basically defines how the light will actually be behaving while hitting the object. Without textures, every object actually looks flat. It looks artificial, but with help of textures, we can make them look very much realistic. In simple words, texture is something which actually controls how any object will look in 3D. And majority beginner does one mistake in understanding texture is they think that texture is just color, how the object will look, but it is way much more than that. Color is just a small part of any texture. For example, so here in this image you can see there is one wood-like thing showcasing on this object, but it is not actually texture, it's just color of wood, because texture contains lot of information about that actual material. It contains its roughness, its metallicness, its depth map, and so many more things. So combining all that makes a texture. So in this same example, if we do turn off the texture and just only apply the color, it will look like this. And if we do turn on the texture, as you can see, that completely changes how the object is actually looking. Because in 3D, a good model gives you a good topology to work on, but actually to make them feel real and connect with the real world, we do need to have help of textures. So now as we do understand textures, let's dive deeper into what kind of textures are already there. So basically there are two types of texture mainly used in the industry. First one is the PBR and second one is the procedural. So first of all, PBR materials or textures stands for physical based rendering textures. So in this type of textures, the texture data have been collected from the real world. So majority of that kind of textures are either scanned with 3D scanner or LiDAR sensor or any kind of technology which is really inspired by the real world. For example, if you wanted to develop a texture of a concrete, so you can use the PBR material of that because it has been taken from the real concrete, and all the data, the roughness, the depth map and all has been derived from the real world elements. So this kind of textures help us really achieve realism in 2 minutes. For example, if you do apply the PBR texture of concrete into one material, if you do apply PBR material of a concrete into any object, so you can achieve realism in seconds, because PBR textures contains multiple images of any texture. So first of all, there would be a color map of that, the roughness map of that, metallic map of that, depth map of that, height map of that, and there are a lot of more maps for any single material. So each and every map controls different parameters of any material, such as for if you wanted to control the roughness of the material, then roughness map would be the one who would be controlling the roughness of that particular object. That's how basically PBR material works. And PBR textures are majority used to achieve realism in a very short amount of time, and it is time saving, as well as you can use like PBR material majority for stones, concretes, fabric and terrains or real world elements which needs to look more realistic. So now let's move forward for our second type of material, which is procedural one. So the procedural material is a material which is developed inside Blender or any kind of 3D softwares. So the difference between PBR and procedural, the major difference is the PBR is taken reference from the real world and the procedural material is developed inside the software. So it is basically mathematically based material which is developed through math. For example, if you wanted to add noise texture, if you wanted to add Musgrave texture, if you wanted to add wave texture, so there would not be any kind of resolution because it is completely mathematically created inside the software itself. So it does not have any kind of resolution, so you can have infinite number of clarity from the texture. So now let's move forward with our second type of material, which is procedural material. So the main difference between PBR material and procedural material is that the PBR material, as we have explained, that means the texture and the data of that images has been taken from the real world. In other hand, the procedural material is completely developed inside the software. It is basically developed by mathematical algorithms. For example, there are many textures procedurally which we can utilize to add some details such as noise texture, Musgrave texture, wave texture. So actually that does not contain any kind of real image. It does have a mathematical algorithm which defines the scale of that, the detail of that, the roughness of that and everything. So the benefit of using procedural material is, first, you can have infinite number of possibility and customizability. For example, if you wanted to scale up any kind of texture, or if you want to scale down any kind of texture to add details, you can easily do with the PBR. You can easily do with the procedural one compared to the PBR one, because it does not contains any kind of image. So basically resolution is infinite. We can zoom in any texture as much as we want, or we can zoom it out as much as we want. That won't affect any kind of detail. As well as the benefit of using procedural material is we can have infinite amount of customizability as well. We can tweak each and every value of that particular node to have a different kind of result. So that is about basically procedural materials. Both have its pros and cons. The procedural material gives you more comfortability. Procedural material give you more customizability as well as scalability. In other hand, PBR gives you instant realism and easy to have workflow. And mostly professionally we do use both of that textures such as PBR and procedural one. Majorly we do use PBR as a base one and do procedurally, and we add some material procedurally to have some details such as scratches and grains, so you can manage it according to your workflow. So that was about both of the materials. So I hope this video have added some kind of value into your life, and if yes, then please consider to like this video and subscribe to our channel, would be great. So that's all for today guys. See you in the next one.